Now, in theory, this should be working. If it is, I'm going to share it. Whoops. Alright, I will start any moment now. Alright, this should be working. Good morning to those in the northern Philippines and just around the world in general. Hopefully this is working. Just gonna see if it does. Okay. Alright, thank you all so much for tuning in. Now again, if you are watching this stream after it goes live and you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I will gladly answer them. Now this is a pretty complicated storm and it pretty much came out of nowhere. So let's discuss it right now. So if we take a look at 11W, also known as Emong in the Philippines, it is going to undergo quite a weird track. It is going to move southwestwards, then southwards, then move towards the east, and then potentially strike the Philippines, northern Luzon, around Ilocos Sur or Ilocos Norte, before then moving back out over the Philippine Sea and then move towards Taiwan. It could go on longer than that, but we're quite uncertain as of right now because of the mountainous terrain of Luzon. So if we take a look at the potential impacts the system could bring, there's a broad area of marginal impacts. This is mostly for rain, although this area is mostly for wind. Then if we take a look at the possible impacts for slight threat level, again this is mostly mostly impacts in terms of rain, whereas more on the northern side it's more of a wind threat as well. Then we also have two pockets of moderate threat levels, again for rainfall, but there is the possibility of moderate impacts along the coast of Ilocos Sur and Ilocos Norte, just if the system becomes a typhoon. Something we will discuss over the next over this update. All right, now if we take a look at the overall look of tropics right now, we have a lot going on. So let's discuss this. Currently, we have a disturbance in the North Atlantic with a 20% chance of developing over the next 3 days or so as it nears Louisiana and Texas. We have a disturbance in the Eastern Pacific with a 10% chance over the next week and one with a 30% chance over the next week. In the Western Pacific, we have a lot going on here. We have a total of 6 systems we're watching. First, we're watching out for something that could become subtropical out over the open waters of the Western Pacific around the latitude of Japan. We have 98W, which could become a threat to Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. We have 10W, which is now Francisco, which could become which is a tropical storm, and it is threatening the Ryukyu Islands. Shouldn't intensify much, but we'll go over that later in the update as well. We have Invest 99W, which is not expected to develop. And we have 11W, which is now Emong, which is likely a tropical depression at this time. And we have the tropical depression Wipa, which is continuing to move across southeastern Asia. We are currently code red for Emong, and we are code yellow for Invest 98W, Francisco, and Wipa. So there's a lot going on. Now, if we take a look at the satellite imagery, I thought that I set this up, my bad. If we take a look at the global satellite imagery, visible imagery of tropical depression 11W, we can see that the system does have a small circulation and tight circulation near the center, just northwest of Luzon here, and we have some of these outer bands now going into Luzon and then parts of just the central Philippines, with Manila getting some impacts as well. And then we can see over here Francisco, which is now moving towards the northwest as well. Here it's just a lot of circulations here. We have 99W going in towards the system. So again, a lot going on. I think that's 99W. No, that's 90W, excuse me. So yes, a lot going on here in this setup. But we can see though that the system is quite healthy now with thunderstorms bursting over the center and sustaining. So I mean, it's doing quite well. It's consolidated itself much quicker than we thought. And so this could become, I mean, this could quickly intensify depending on how favorable the environment is. So if we take a look at the convection on the system right here, we can see it has been sustaining quite well over the past few hours, directly over the center. So it's been doing quite healthy, and this is going to help the system deepen further and potentially become a stronger system over the next 36 hours or so. Now, if we take a look at radar imagery, we can see these thunderstorms moving into Manila quite strong. Then we also have these bands over here by the Babuan group of islands and the Batanes Islands and the southern tip of Taiwan. If we take a look at the environment of the system, again, we're looking at this system right over here. If we pull up the wind shear that the system is facing right now, it is close to none right now. The wind shear it is facing over the center. It is in a quite healthy environment right now, which is why the convection is sustaining over the center. If things go right, the system could get its act together quite quickly. If we take a look at sea surface temperatures, again, they are quite warm, around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. But since the system might stall a bit, we want to take a look at oceanic heat content. Oceanic heat content is quite high as well here on the South China Sea, just along the coast of Luzon here. So again, it has more than enough fuel to rapidly intensify. Now, if we take a look at the roughly the distance away from land here, it is roughly around 80 to 90 kilometers away from Ilocos Norte, roughly around 120 kilometers away from Ilocos Sur, and roughly around 200 kilometers away from La Union. All right, and again, if you have any questions, again, I will answer them towards the end of the live stream. Now, if we take a look at the model runs, here's a look at the latest European run, showing the system consolidating quite quickly and potentially missing parts of Luzon, but impacting the Babuan group of islands. There may be a Fujiwara interaction, as Mackenzie mentions, with Dante. So something to look out for. Depending on how strong Dante gets, it will have an impact on where Emong eventually moves. And we see that the system also, or the model also has 98W developing into a typhoon over the next week or so near the Northern Mariana Islands and eventually towards Japan. Could get quite strong. Now, if we take a look at the latest American run, showing the system becoming potentially a typhoon before moving into the Philippines and quickly dissipating, but it struggles to initialize on Francisco, moving northwestwards. It also has another disturbance developing in the South China Sea, but it has that 98W potentially becoming a typhoon. It's not handling things quite well though, in my opinion. Now, if we take a look at the German run here, the German run consolidates 98W over the next few days. It doesn't, or it does show this system potentially becoming a tropical storm over the next 48 hours or so. And it shows Dante Francisco maintaining its strength mostly, but still remaining a broad system. Now, if we take a look at the Canadian model here, it doesn't show the system that well. Again, models have done quite poorly on the system's intensification and development. But something it does note is 98W becoming a typhoon over the next week or so, before eventually becoming broad and weakening. Now, another thing the Canadian model shows is a subtropical disturbance developing in around the latitudes of Japan, south of the Alaskan islands. So just something to look out for. Now, if we take a look at the latest European ensembles here, we can see they show the system mostly missing parts of Luzon, but that all depends on the strength of Francisco over the next few days. But they also really like the idea of 98W consolidating into a tropical cyclone and potentially becoming a typhoon. They are also showing some mild support on that subtropical disturbance over the next 5 days. And if we take a look at the ensembles here, we can quite clearly see a lot of support for Francisco, a lot of support for Emong, and a lot of support for 98W, which could become a major typhoon. Something to keep an eye out if you're on the Northern Mariana Islands. Hopefully, it doesn't intensify until after moving past those islands. All right, now if we take a look at the American ensembles here, they have the system mostly moving over the Philippines and dissipating for Among, and it continues to have Francisco as quite a broad system. It hasn't trended as well with 98W, but still showing it becoming a tropical cyclone. And now oh, did I show this? Yeah, I did. Okay. If we take a look at the, oh wait, I closed out of a tab, my bad. Anyways, now if we take a look at the rainfall estimates over the next 5 days or so, across the western Pacific, there's a lot of areas to talk about. So if we take a look at parts of Myanmar, there are some areas that could get 400 millimeters of additional rainfall from the remnants of Wipa. If we take a look at the Philippines, some areas here could get rainfall totals of over 400 millimeters, with Metro Manila potentially getting over 150 millimeters of rainfall. If we take a look at parts of Ilocos Sur, rainfall totals roughly around 200 to 300 millimeters. Ilocos Norte around 200 millimeters as well. Same with La Union. But that's just the European run. Again, though, if we take a look at the Northern Mariana Islands, rainfall totals of around 100 to 200 millimeters. Then parts of the areas near the Ryukyu Islands, potentially rainfall totals up to 700 millimeters. Thankfully, though, the Ryukyu Islands only seem to get around 50 to 100 millimeters just because of how quickly the system will move. Taking a look at the American ensembles, or American run, showing roughly 300 millimeters of rainfall in, or even higher, upwards of 400 millimeters of rain in Metro Manila, and totals of 400 millimeters just south of Lipa City. Showing again 500 to 600 to 700 millimeters of rainfall offshore of the Ryukyu Islands, with the Ryukyu Islands only getting around 50 millimeters of rain. The Northern Mariana Islands could get quite a lot of rain, with Guam here on this model run showing it getting roughly 450 millimeters or around 18 inches of rain. So over a foot of rain being forecasted by the American run. Now, if we take a look at the German run over the next 5 days, it shows much lower totals across Luzon, generally around 50 to 100 millimeters, with some areas around Metro Manila getting around 200 millimeters of rainfall. And for the Ryukyu Islands, a general total of 50 to 100 millimeters. So let's look at the rainfall threat over the next 5 days. Now, if we take a look at the forecast cone from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, it has the system becoming a tropical storm over the next 12 hours, or even earlier than that, over the next 8 to 9 hours, or even actually earlier than that, maybe even 4 or 5 hours. Then it has it becoming near a typhoon over the next 36 hours or so. Right before making landfall, it does show the possibility of it strengthening to a typhoon before making its landfall around Ilocos Sur, before then eventually reemerging in the Philippine Sea, and then eventually as a tropical storm, minimal tropical storm, and then eventually moving towards the Ryukyu Islands as a tropical depression or remnant low. I believe it is a remnant low, yes. So that's a look at this system right here for Among. And if we take a look at the signal warnings, oh, I thought I updated that. Okay, if we take a look at the Philippine or Pagasa update on the system, it has the system as a depression over the next 24 hours or so, before eventually becoming a tropical storm over the next 36 hours, and then moving along the coast of Luzon before moving towards the Babuan group of islands and the Batanes Islands as a storm, before eventually reaching the Ryukyu Islands as around a depression, and then a low pressure area as it leaves the Philippine area of responsibility. Now, the problem with this forecast is it doesn't show it strengthening as quickly as it already is right now. So it's likely undoing the intensity forecast. It's pretty likely to become a severe tropical storm, just that models aren't handling it that well. And its track forecast is quite uncertain. Keep that in mind. Again, generally their forecast is quite well. I mean, it shows it potentially going all the way southeast over here, or potentially missing entirely. And if we take a look at the signal warnings in effect for Luzon, we can see that there are signal 1 warnings in effect for parts of La Union, Ilocos Sur, and Ilocos Norte, and parts of, I don't know how to pronounce that. I just learned how to pronounce these 3 provinces like 30 minutes ago. But yeah, signal 1 warnings are in effect for these areas. Winds in the range of, oh, whoops. Wind in the range of 39 to 61 kilometers an hour over the next 36 hours or so. Honestly, could see higher wind totals than that. For example, if I pull up this model run from the American model run, which is doing a quite fantastic job on handling this system, if we take a look at the winds in kilometers per hour, oh wait, sorry, this is the American run right here. Now this has it going farther south, but it has winds going upwards of 70 to 80 kilometers an hour. And if we take a look at wind gusts, those could be much higher, upwards of 120 kilometers an hour wind gusts near Santa Cruz. This is just one run though. Winds in Manila are roughly around 50 to 60 kilometers an hour in terms of gust. So I'm surprised that there's not anything higher noted for those areas. And if we take a look at the German run for wind gust, only showing around 40 to 50 kilometer an hour wind gust for Metro Manila. But again, though, the American run is probably doing the best job at handling its intensity. It could rapidly intensify over the next 36 to 48 hours. Now, again, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat, and I will start answering them now. Typhoon Lover Silo says a wrong way track. Yes, I mean, this is a quite surprising track, but systems sometimes will do this. Mackenzie says Western Pacific is insane. Yes, it is. Let's see. Broly Meng says this Western Pacific season is weird, not gonna lie. Yes, it's been quite weird so far. Alright, then we have questions as Mackenzie asks, Dante and Among will be a Fujiwara interaction. For those who don't know, the Fujiwara interaction is when two systems circle around each other. If we take a look at the European run, we can see where Dante is over the next 36 hours or so, moving by the Ryukyu Islands, and we have Among becoming nearly a typhoon over that point. And then we see the system speeding off towards the northeast. It's under the influence of Dante. You can see this broad area of low pressure here, combining the two systems, and then it's going to be speeding off to join its circulation. So if we go further in time, by the time Dante moves inland and weakens, Among is just stalling there at that point. It's getting dragged over there by Among. I think I can show that by showing this thing right here, height anomalies. So this is what's mainly pulling it to the northeast. Dante is the reason it's moving towards the Philippines. Otherwise, it'd just be continuing to move westwards like Wipa did. But yeah, I did note earlier that Wipa would have an interaction depending on how strong the system got. It didn't become a typhoon, but it is a tropical storm still, so it is dragging the system off towards the northeast. Depending on how strong Francisco gets, it will have a huge impact on the track forecast. But yes, it is possible and it is likely. They are interacting with each other roughly within the next 12 hours. Let's see. Map asks, update here on Central Luzon. Classes are still suspended. That makes sense. There's going to be heavy rainfall for the next few days. And Mackenzie says Among somehow becoming a typhoon. Well, the environment is more than conducive for it to become a typhoon. So I'm not surprised about that. Yep. Yes, it's not looking good for commuters. Well, you know the Philippines province. Well, I just learned like 30 minutes ago how to pronounce these three provinces: Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, and La Union. Again, I don't know how to pronounce some of them, or I don't know how to pronounce Emong exactly, so I just say Emong. That's the closest. Oh, sorry, wrong map. So I'm gonna close out of that. Sorry about that. Okay, here's the correct map. But yes, I just learned how to pronounce those two provinces. I know the Batanes Islands, that one I know well. The Babuan group of islands, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I think Isabella, I'm probably, I don't know that one just yet. If a system goes towards that area, I'll look up the pronunciation. But just so I can accurately pronounce these names, I'm just focusing on these. But yes, I wouldn't be surprised if these get up to Signal 2 warnings over the next few days, and Signal 1 warnings being pushed farther inland. Let's see, map says hopefully it won't worsen. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully it will actually move away from away from Luzon. Again, it all depends on this system right here, Francisco. Let's see. Yeah, while GFS goes crazy, yes. I mean, it's handling it quite well now. I'm curious if we have runs from our hurricane models, the ones that specialize in hurricanes. Nope, not there, not there. Nope, doesn't look like we have it there, unfortunately. Like our rapid intensification models. Now, Map asks, you think it'll dissipate before reaching central Luzon? There is the possibility. Some models show it dissipating before it crosses, or mostly dissipates. Maybe a remnant low by the time it crosses Luzon. But by the time it reaches central Luzon, it'll probably be only a tropical storm or so. Um, Minimal tropical storm at that point, if it were to make landfall. Mackenzie asks if 93L is now trying to intensify again. Well, if we look at it, we're giving it currently around a 20% chance of developing over the next 7 days, but mainly 3 days. It's just the remnants of 93L, which have gone back out over over waters now, and will likely move into Texas and Louisiana. If we take a look at the European AI model, it shows the system potentially consolidating over the next 3 days or so, before then moving in towards Texas. So just something to watch out for. Oh, what's this? Just seeing if that's anything to watch out for. Not really, it's in the long range. And if we take a look at our system over here, Emong, what the European run has it doing, it does show it consolidating quite well. It is doing it quite accurately. It appears that this might actually nail the track of it. It might go more north for the northwestern tip of Luzon, mainly in Ilocos Norte, or it might strike Ilocos Sur. The GFS has it much farther south. Also, it does have 98W consolidating and potentially becoming a typhoon there and interacting with the remnants of the other system. So just a lot going on. Gaming with Trippin H says Lingadeng Abra is raining hard right now, even though we don't have a signal. Yes, I mean these are the outer rain bands of the system, most likely impacting you all. So mainly the signal warnings have to do with wind. These are just outer bands, if that makes sense. Mackenzie says, actually, if Dante's big storm and Emong similar, I think Dante will be eating Emong. Yeah, Dante could absorb Emong, but it's just as likely that Emong will absorb Dante. We don't know quite yet on how strong both of those disturbances will become. 2025 southwest monsoon, very insane for July, just like 2024. I don't remember what it was like back then, but yes, I mean, there's just a lot of rain now impacting the Philippines. Curious if I can pull up radar. Yeah, parts of Manila getting in on some of those thunderstorms. So yes, flooding will be a potential concern for some of those areas. And I believe that there will be cameras in some of the areas. Yes, I remember looking at some of these cameras for Manila. Oh yes, this is the one that I would use to look at flooding. It doesn't look too bad on this imagery. Oh, whoa, yeah, okay, it does flood quite easily, as you can see here. That was quite quick. That was only an hour or so, and it started flooding places, but then it started to recede afterwards, so. Yeah, it looks like that does flood quite easily with trucks going through it and stuff like that. But yeah, parts of Metro Manila could see some flooding, and really anywhere parts of Luzon. See, Zenith says, hello, HEC. I am at Des Marinas, Cavite, just south of Manila. Yeah, you could get around 200 to 300 millimeters of rain over the next 5 days or so. The German model is showing around 100 to 200 millimeters. American model showing 300 to 400 millimeters, and European showing around 100 to 200. Mackenzie says Invest 98W becoming a potential major typhoon while it's moving to Japan. Yeah, that's something that we'll need to watch out for. It could become a major typhoon, or maybe just a typhoon. Hopefully the system will be pushed back. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Wait, no, hold on, do I? I think I'm good, sorry. um, but hopefully the system gets dragged southwards after moving towards Japan. It might get slingshotted around and then moving, just stalling really, might get absorbed by another disturbance. It is just very complicated. Here's a look at the European run, showing the system becoming quite a solid storm. If we look at the run before that, hopefully it avoids Japan. It looks like there's some sort of blockade over it. It's quite hard to tell what the steering pattern is. There is a ridge over it currently. Uh, it's quite complicated. It looks like a trough off to the east tries to drag it eastwards, or does it know where to go? And so there's mostly a ridge trying to block it from impacting Japan. Zenith says, I'm experiencing intense rainfall and nonstop since yesterday. Well, yeah, it's a good thing your area didn't get flooded. Map says, looks like I won't be going into school soon. Alright. Mackenzie says, I think Weepa died in Leo before making it to the North Indian Ocean. Well, no, it's still ongoing right now, actually. If we pull up the satellite imagery of Weepa, we can see that the circulation is still ongoing, and it's likely a tropical depression still. It still has time, like another 12 hours or so, if it were to dissipate. Well, that is mostly everything in this update. Gaming with Tribbin H says, this is the first week in my classes and already suspended, lol. Yep. Now, this should be mostly everything, unless anyone else has any questions about your local areas. I'll do a bit of coverage on the other systems, maybe about 5 minutes each. We have a new system in the Eastern Pacific. Did they tag that other thing? No, it's just this one. Okay, but yeah. If we cover the other systems that are on code yellow, We have, of course, Tropical Storm Francisco, which is known as Dante in the Philippines. So if we do the mesosector, come on. Yep. Yeah, here's a look at that circulation that's now kind of leaving all the thunderstorms. Mainly getting some shear from the southwest, or no, it looks like it's coming from the. Hmm, I'm going to pull it up on this right here again to look at this shear. Okay, it's moving from the west, yeah, so it was right on that. Moving generally this direction, pushing most of the thunderstorms off to the eastern side of it. As you can see here, lots of thunderstorms in it, but it's quite broad. You have this clear, or you have this side just filled with thunderstorms, and then you have this clear side off towards the west. Of course, you have the circulation now trying to escape the thunderstorms, so it's really only around 40 to 45 miles an hour at this time. But it will move towards the Ryukyu Islands. If we take a look at the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast, it has it around 35 knots as of right now, intensifies to around 40 knots by the time it passes through the Ryukyu Islands, and then moves it towards China as a tropical storm, and then likely dissipates over China. Or it could stall and make a U-turn. But overall, we have roughly around unofficial tropical storm warnings for parts of the Ryukyu Islands, and then tropical storm watches further northwards. But I really hope the infrastructure holds there. Just yesterday, the power went out. Yep, for the Philippines, parts of the Philippines. Now, Francisco isn't expected to do a whole lot as well. Like I said, rainfall isn't expected to be that high because the system moves kind of fast, except for areas, except for areas east of the Ryukyu Islands. Rainfall totals of 700 to 800 millimeters, but generally in the Ryukyu Islands, a general total of around 50 to 100 millimeters of rainfall, at least on the European run. The American run shows again around 50 to 75 millimeters, and the German model shows roughly around 40 to 100 millimeters as well. So what's this model run? The MSM model run, I haven't heard of this one exactly, but showing totals of around 50 to 200 millimeters of rain, 250 even, in some areas. That'd be a more worst case scenario in my opinion. Oh, that's over the next 3 days as well. Okay. Curious what the model runs show of this. So that's 700 millimeters over then. If I go even beyond that, eh. But yeah, lots of rain in a lot of areas over the next 10 days or so. But yeah, we try and focus only on the next 5 days though of impacts. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Okay, next Western Pacific name is Kome. Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, I didn't search that up. And Pagasa name is Fabian. Before Emong wasn't supposed to form, and European got it correct of forming it. Wicked is here saying interesting. Yeah, I mean it's a quite an interesting system that kind of came out of nowhere. Really only started tracking it a day ago. The Western Pacific is infamous for forming these spin-up systems. I mean, we got almost a tropical cyclone over here, 99 or 90 W, excuse me. Came out of pretty much nowhere. If it weren't for Francisco or Dante being in the way, the system could have become a tropical cyclone. Yeah, there it is. You can see this circulation just running through an organized low-level circulation, and it wasn't embedded in some deep thunderstorms. Fortunately, we didn't get really a lot of useful scatterometer data, so we can't really confirm if this did become a tropical cyclone briefly. To me, though, in my opinion, it did not. But again, though, you can just clearly see how sheer the system is and how broad it is, Francisco. Thankfully, though, most of it's off away from the Philippines. But again, this will impact the Ryukyu Islands. As you factor in the forward motion of it, they're going to get the dirty side of it. Thankfully, though, the impacts won't be that bad. Only around marginal to slight at most. Gaming with Trippin H says Dante and Emong came from the tale of Kreesing slash Weepa. Mostly, yeah. Looks like it generally split apart. Okay. I'm curious to see what 98W is looking like right now in terms of its like, or how healthy it is. Mm, not really able to see a whole lot. 90W here. Can we go back? Man, it does not like the system at all. The scatterometer data. You can see the swirl in there, but not showing it on here. All right. Okay, we have a new scatterometer pass on the system, showing it is likely a tropical storm at this time. We're getting barbs of around 30 knots or so. Not really showing a whole lot with the circulation there. I can kind of see it in here. But yes, it's probably around, in my opinion, high-end tropical depression, nearly a tropical storm. Gaming with Trippin H says seems healthy, but 98W. To me, it doesn't look that great right now. I mean, we're not seeing a whole lot of thunderstorm activity and not really a whole lot of spin in it here. Just a general trough of low pressure there. So just it's going to take some time for it to actually get organized. I've only given it around a 20% chance of developing over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance over the next 7 days. I'm not fully confident if it's going to get its act together or if it's going to split up like other storms. So, otherwise, if it looked better now, I'd give it a higher chance over the next 7 days. There are sometimes fake signals in the Western Pacific, so I don't want to get fooled by it. Oh man, I should have posted the cone of impacts on YouTube. I forgot to do that. I did it everywhere else but on YouTube. Oh yeah, thank you all so much again for 2.5 thousand subscribers. Forgot to say that. Thank you all so much for your support. Again, if you like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. Emong makes landfall in Zambales. I don't know exactly where that is. But no, in my opinion, it has not made landfall just yet. It still should be over the water. Somewhere around here. But yeah, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is forecasting winds, sustained winds, to reach 110 kilometers an hour. So only seeing Signal 1 warnings is quite surprising. Gaming with Trippin H says, I realize I didn't subscribe to you yet. Sorry about that. How do you keep seeing the live streams then? That's impressive. Thank you. And thank you for subscribing. Well, yeah, that's generally it. Later podcast updated. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for watching. This was a brief update on it. Again, if you're watching the stream after it goes live and you have any questions, you can just leave them in the next video or in the comments, and then I will respond to it in the next update. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and stay safe. I'll see you in the next update.